be the creator of your words.
Yes.
Because through this, you can bring your visions into fruition.
Yes.
Hello everyone, this is Meilin Ehlke with the Sacred Expression Show. Today from sunny Bavaria, and I have a wonderful, wonderful man with me who carries this gift of focusing on the vision and using and crafting really words to bring them alive, to accelerate his vision onto this earth. So everyone, please welcome with me Tom Clute, sitting in the US. Hello.
Hello, Meilin.
Hello, Tom. Wonderful that you're with us. And what fascinates me about you is really how you suddenly pull out these words from your source or from source and use them. I always feel they start spiraling off, and you create so many anew. You put them together and you find new ways to say things that add movement to what we're used to. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your play of words. Just jump in about your gift.
Well, thank you, Meilin. Words have always been fun for me, and I always love the spelling competitions in grade school. Did well in that. One of the things that I coined recently, as I consider myself a word artisan, is on a sacred personhood platform of identity and a sense of self, is I fuse together the biology term of a cell, C-E-L-L, with the identity term, S-E-L-F, and fuse that so that it brings an integration of a sense of a connected self, boundaried, not separated. So I spelled it C-E-L-F to help integrate a sense of a connected whole. I have my identity, I have my boundariedness, and I have my connectedness. We have sovereignty and identity, interdependence, and yet boundariedness. But the word separation is consciously released from my consciousness because it does not serve me to have a sense of separation. It serves me to have a sense of boundaried connectedness. That way I'm at choice, and yet I have responsibility and interconnectedness to be at play in the world in a responsible way.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, but when I speak with, often it's about the way of remembering that we're really one with everything, right? With nature, with the animal kingdom,
Yes.
and with each other. And that we've been this for 10,000s of years, and that we lost a little of this, right? And that somehow separation started, and this separation hurts us. And we're trying, I think, in the society now to come together to find connections, to find similar thinkers, people that have the same ideas about life, or just where we feel comfortable and embraced. So we're moving back into, but there is even so much more that we have lost. And I think even now when you start, I love listening to you, when you start bringing this embracing way, for me it feels very embracing when you speak and when you write. You have to tell us a little bit about your writing. When you write, it feels so, there is a surety about it. It feels, yes, that's it. And I love you use the word choice. I have a choice because I am important. I am as important as everyone. I am as magnificent, and everyone else is very important in my life and very magnificent. and so this respect, you know, and in your language, I sense always the respect to all, and that's what I love.
Oh, thank you, Meilin. The word matter comes to mind, that everyone matters, and then the motif of mattering invokes an invitation to go deeper, to challenge a mechanistic worldview where there's not an intention-laden sense of connectedness with matter itself. So that challenges our sense of what kind of universe am I in? Is it a relational cosmology, or is it a chaotic cosmology? Or maybe it's an amazing thing that just came out. Maybe it's both, so that we have choice and intention, and we can co-create, and yet that sense of maybe the energy is just there, waiting for us to show up and play together, and otherwise it remains in an illusion of chaos, but it's not really. It's really a gift. Yeah.
I believe that very much so. Very well said, very well said. It is right. It feels chaotic or chaotic if we don't understand how we function. It feels chaotic if we feel alone. Because then we cannot expand. We contract and it's tight. And even if we look at a vibration, if you're tight, you shake. And if we squeeze ourselves even smaller to be, even more by ourselves, this is shaking, and it's easier, nicer to be expanded and soft. And where did I want to go? But it is by this chaotic way. So once we understand that this chaotic way is really not chaotic, that is just because we're always on this search, we're looking, and once we start remembering what we are, and that we do have a choice, and that we can create, and every moment when we can set intention and follow it, we act on our own thoughts, we empower ourselves to act on our own thoughts when we have choice, right? They're very important. Why do I have a certain thought? Why did it come into my head, or why did I feel this certain thing to act on? It means because you have to do it. It is why you're here, or that's why I'm here, or you, Tom, you're here, right? And this is very, very true. It is about acting in the moment, not laying it off into a later time. Yeah, because then we don't, as you said so beautifully, then there is not this playing and this interactiveness and the connectiveness with everything around. So if a thought comes, if you are starting a painting, for example, finish the painting. Go with the flow until it's done. Stop using the social settings where you say, oh, now it's 12 o'clock, you have to eat now, right? Keep on painting. Find your own rhythm.
Thank you, Meilin. There's a book by Rollo May called The Courage to Create, and there's a lot of other teachers as well. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Yes.
And so this idea of showing up in life and becoming alive, recognizing that I have an incessant imperative to create. That if I don't express myself, I'm losing myself, and there's actually an entropy that's occurring if I don't show up for myself. And that pushes me to be a creator or a creatrix in life. And that can be painful. And I needed to drop the heaviness of the culture and the nomenclatures, the notions that didn't serve me, that weren't me. I wrote recently that I must abandon what I am not to embrace what is calling my name, to embrace my capacities. The capacities are beckoning. They're beckoning, and they that until I recognize that I must act in order to have integrity with myself, it's going to hurt. And once I get in that creation mode, then I feel the flow of that energy. I'm back in the river of my own being again. I reached out and asked anyone, and you responded. You were the only one that responded. It says, yes, I'll interview you, Tom. I needed someone to draw me out, and you stepped up. So I acknowledge
Thank you.
That. I think, yeah.
Yeah, you know what fascinates me, all my life people fascinate me. And often people that are starting out expressing really their core. That's something I sense. And there is so much, like in a way I'm in an igniter, right? But also I have this too. This is something I draw it out of people, and then you can run off doing it. And I love speaking and figuring out how people function. Yeah, so that's why I always take these opportunities. And also this is why I have this show, is who else is out there? Who can I learn from? Who can, as you say so beautifully, play with? Right? And the internet is such a beautiful tool now. So many people I can meet, and we can exchange. And in our conversations, what happens when our energies even come together, right? We create something new together, and there is this spiraling. For me, everything is spirals. And there's spiraling of the new. And what is the most important, I think, when two people come together, if a group of people comes together, is the speed. We really, it's the way we pull each other, but we also push each other. Like by you asking that, May said, okay, I have to get ready to do a next interview, even though I'm in the middle of a move. Yeah, but this is also, what am I? This is what I love. As you said so beautifully, I have to live myself fully. And stop doing that and taking time for me. Too often, I learned that in a decade ago. I did that. I wouldn't do that as often. But now, more and more, as you said, it hurts if I don't live myself. And I need these moments to express. So if I speak, this is when I express myself. I'm connecting. If it's now visual with you, or even on the radio show, the moment I start speaking on the radio show, boop, everything is out, and I bring in what has happened through the day. Yeah, it is really that there is no separation anymore. That we can just step in and out into what we want to do, and change and become very flexible, and say, okay, an hour ago I was still cleaning the house, but now I'm here speaking with this person. Yeah, it is this quickness and this flexibility that we get, and it feels very light and it feels easy. So this playing is easy, and it especially happens when we come together.
Yes, flexibility is a recurring theme for health, and the word wealth comes up also. I was going to go back to what you were saying about this exchange, this spiral, an intersection or an intercourse of creativity that is our nature, and when we are aligning with that nature, then we this co-creativity, we're happy. We come into a zone of flow. The river of time. I wrote a poem for my nephew, and the metaphor was a drop of eternity in the river of time.
Oh, beautiful title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A young man that I am, a drop of eternity in the river of time. What do I know? Where will I go? So I might share that before. Yes. How do we come into our authentic nature and recognize that and reclaim that a part of that is coming together like we are now, or in like the meetup groups or other. The thing is that we need to nurture a commitment to intention,
yes,
to be intentional with our time together and to come together, not just online, but in community, to celebrate and to connect.
Yes, aren't you creating something like this, or this is one of your visions? Because everyone, Tom's gift is really being a visionary and also bringing people together in communities. Speak a little bit about this.
Well, it's just a recurring dream over and over to have festivals of friendship, festivals of flourishing, and I just imagine a continuous worldwide festival, or just infuse just an awareness of celebration continuously, like with students worldwide, all the campuses and all the universities worldwide, a sense of connectedness. I invented a term to hold that, and now I need software and engineers to create the matrix on the computer and so on to hold that, but it's called interweaver. E-N-T-E-R-W-E-E or W-E-E-A-V-E-R. Interweaver, which to me, the web of existence, but and we're each weaving a strand of our own identity in a grand celebration. But there's this sense of showing up in this, just the festival of friendship, festivals of flourishing. I wrote in a Facebook post recently, we don't need any more rules.
Right.
We need demonstrations of what is possible, not
yes.
what is illegal.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
A demonstration. I speak about it. It's the experiences, right? So it's the experience that inspires. It's the moment where others sees, oh, I can do that if he's doing it, if she's doing it, if they're doing it.
Yeah.
I can do it then. I can allow myself. Right? It's this. I can allow myself. Yeah, too often we don't allow. We're taught. I've seen when my son was young. I remember even early kindergarten. First, the children they're laughing. Then they're too loud because the moms want to talk. Then if they're crying, then they're not supposed to cry. And then if they scream, oh, you're not supposed to scream. So we're since we're little, always all these things we don't do. So we always felt, and luckily I noticed the younger generation that's it's becoming less and less, and I hope they don't become the same way of don't do the same way of parenting, so that we can become free and allow, as you said at the beginning, to follow our own thought, to have a choice, to say yes and no, and to just say, I would love to do that, and I'm going to do it. Just simply as that.
Yeah. We function better in community than in isolation.
Yes.
And I know here in dominant culture, that doesn't work for me very well. Intentional community works a lot better. And that's been a journey, a struggle, and a choice. I recently contacted a intentional community in New Mexico, and I plan to go out there and visit them for a month and see if I want to make a transition out there. But this idea of choosing our way. I also visited a what's called Windward community out in South Central Washington, and they have a lovely intentional community, and they've been there for 30 years. But intentional communities are worldwide, and they've been around. And so just to plug into those, I imagine Germany has intentional communities of different size types. But, yeah, so...
Yeah. But when you were speaking also before, the togetherness, this weaving, everything... Communication is woven, and to weave a carpet, it takes a long time to weave a carpet alone, and with many people, and there is a then not a structure, it is then a more a design that just happens of coming together, of creating together something no one can fathom. This also makes us grow, expand, a rush forward. But then also all different levels of vibration, right? There is, you were speaking about intention lines. There is this interweaveness of all these intention lines of connectiveness and conversation, even with the star nations and other beings, right? And so the light flows this way. Then there is a weaving together happening very strong now, even of sacred sites, where they get illuminated so they can communicate again. And with this way we're finding now all these beautiful temples. Like, it was so funny, I had a mover supported me, and he said, of a friend of a friend, and he said, I'm from Bosnia, and do you know where the pyramids are? And I said, oh, I know where the pyramids are. I almost would have been there if I would have not been moving. My friends were there. So you see, there's even an interweaving of the right people. Even I did a very physical act of moving my medicine, to a new home. But then the right people that created the connectiveness, this weaving to my friends that were now in Bosnia, looking at the different pyramids there and doing their rituals and their light work, whatever they were. I'll hear it soon when they come back. So you see, even there we're interwoven. We're not alone. And I love the expression you have under your name. It said, towards an ecology of we. And that really, for me, encumbrances everything. It's not just the one voice, the one mind, the one light, right? The one intention. But on top of it, you see the ecology. It means there is what we just mentioned at the beginning, nature, animal kingdom, us beings, and the stones, and so much more and more. And this whole complexity is then interwoven. So you're right on. I love it. I can talk about this for days.
Yeah. Wow. You know, bringing a sense of community and connectedness to marginalized populations like homelessness. In the United States, there's not a lot there's still an unprotected class, which means they're open to attack by any sector in society. But there's an opportunity to invite, well, there is community there, but it needs to, that sense of solidarity needs to be strengthened. And it hasn't, I think it's been introduced in pockets, but in terms of a more grassroots, there's just a lot, let's just turn around in a positive way. There's an immense opportunity to advance this sector of hurting humanity that we pushed it away as a disease or something we don't want. Rather, we need to draw and to recognize that aspect of our hurting selves in society is us. Once we recognize that it's a part of us, rather than pushing it away, then we can begin to ameliorate the pain rather than abuse or, what's the word? Send them to jail over and over and over again, and to attack. So, yeah. But again, in the United States, we have such a trend to attack by attacking cancer, going a war on everything. A war on poverty, a war on cancer, a war on all these things, a war on homelessness. So again, this is where our conversation today, being playful with words that, maybe there's a better way.
Yeah.
We can learn to love each other, and that love can be gently infused in, it could be a friendly competitive game. Like, there's another invention I have. for university university students, for example, is name that theory. So, for example, we have a charade or a play or an occurrence happening, and then we ask the students what theories align to describe that behavior. Then you have another set of experiences. Let's say, so you have a languishing experience and you have a flourishing experience, and then you have a continuum. And you have to name what theory. Like, for example, there's the fundamental attribution theory in psychology, where what that means, my understanding, is that human beings tend to short circuit their thinking and try avoidance pattern, so you don't have to engage with the actual reality. You just short circuit it in a marginalized thought. So that's the fundamental attribution theory versus compassion. Okay, when you invoke compassion, you've got to go into your heart. Okay, so anyway, so those are playful ways to break up those patterns of avoidance so we can go deeper into our humanity. You know, that kind of reminds me of the work that you do, Meilin. Is you talk about Star Nation, and it's such a beautiful thing to bring in the ecology of we. Not again, I'm a sacred personhood, researcher and explorer.
Yes,
and that's really important to me. I need to remind myself of that. That who am I? Well, I am this mystery of connectivity, seeking to express itself and discover itself. And so, but it's so wonderful for me to just keep expanding the boundaries of that awareness, growing. You talk about Star Nation, that we're cosmic citizens.
Yes,
that makes a huge difference. The
yeah.
shame falls away. You know, those old stories and notions that hold us in intense gravitational pull towards destruction. Those things can fall off because we have a much lighter sense of self. That's been my emergence.
Yeah, you know, you're very right. So if I think back, it's one of my interests is these ancient times. And bringing back this ancient knowledge, because we lived very beautiful in unison, very in equality and very peaceful, right? You have no peace without equality, and they're finding it out. Luckily, right now, because now you have instead of using DNA, you use the protein in one of the cells, and I think that's more precise, and I forgot. But they have now a way to look further back and with more precision. So before the Ice Age, people were intermixed. In a way, I think we can let go of the word of race, right? Because we're all human beings built the same way. And people from Siberia were mixed with people from the Aborigines. You know, in Africa, 345,000 years, if you think about it. There were people living next to each other, different strains. So we were learning now, what history are we listening to? It is this history lately where on purpose, and in Europe it was very precise, you know, sometimes it was not just the religion, but it was also the emperors and the people that took over, right? What do you kill first? You pull apart a community. That's how people get weak. That's how you get them to do what you want them to do. Then you take away their sacred language, right? If you take away their sacred language, they lose a connection. I think our German is not sacred. If you take some older ones, they are English. You know, we have to look more at the Finnish, which influenced our language. But there is so much more, and you're right. You were speaking about the Star Nation. So at that time, too, if you look at a lot of symbols with the Native Americans on caves, They had the symbols and the connections already with star nations. So in a way, it was all drawn away for other rulers to have the power, right? And so now, luckily, people 3, 4, 5,000 years later, they don't want it anymore. They say there's more, and where is our wisdom, and where are wise people, and who carries our information? Yeah. And so this will all come up, and luckily science also helps, where they can look much more underground and see where cities have been. So old legends suddenly become alive. They're not legends. So the usage of words, of story, has kept information alive. So there are people that still carry the wisdom, and they speak the truth and know what has happened, and they're starting to teach us. We're finding them, and by even that is why the internet is so magical. We cannot be so separated. We find each other. So with a similar interest, we can find and we can exchange. And we said, oh my God, if you have that and I have this, then yes, this had to be this way. It had to be. I had been thinking, but now you're the little bit link that is missing. Right? So this is what is so fascinating. Then we can create these words, and then you were speaking about warfare against whatever. You're right. We can change that word. We can just take that word away. But by doing that, you're right. One has also to say, so if I'm not against it, pushing aside, because war, no one wants to deal with war. If I give it a different word, suddenly I have to deal with it. I have to look at that person. I have to really look at myself, and I have to look at the society I'm living in, and that is not so easy. But I think your way of, every time I listen to you, of creating these words, they're so warm. There is an encouragement in these words. I have to look outside. There's so many birds, everyone, and the trees, they're communicating, they're really part of this conversation. They're embracing and keep on doing it, and bringing, writing and speaking, and bringing this newness that ignites us and enlightens us in a way.
Yes, it feels like everything I've become as a scientist in learning from the biology and the sciences really helps to be able to navigate, and then I guess it's really like the different aspects of our brain, the creativity, and then the projects part, the linear and the non-linear working together. But I'm at a place where, like as a coach, I want to nurture, infuse, and invite playfulness and curiosity, and also, like for example, men that are ready to recognize that they want more inclusion with their feelings, their emotions. They might say, well, I guess I really don't know how to talk to people. I didn't, maybe I could even invite a dialogue with men and say, maybe our culture didn't give us as much emotional fluency as we needed to be literate citizens in our society. And maybe it's okay that I realized that violence was the only thing that I was able to associate with expressing myself, but it's not the only game in town. Maybe there's more fluency available, and you're not to blame. It's an invitation to add to literacy, and to let that be okay. That this is like to say, it's not wrong to not know. It's okay to not know everything. And then we talk about the gateway of humility. Once we can enter through the gates of humility, then we can become learners, active, conscious learners, and we can take charge of our learning, intrinsic motivation, rather than the banker model of knowledge that Paulo Freire talked about in Pedagogy of the Oppressed, where the banker model of knowledge is where the oligarchies, the profession, the institutions fill you up with knowledge. You passively sit in a classroom. Once you take all the classes and graduate, then you're educated. Well, that's not really educated. That's just being, yeah. So another person was sharing on YouTube recently, Muhammad Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, Nobel Peace Prize winner in 1996 for economics. He said that human beings are too big to have jobs. They're designed to be entrepreneurial. They're designed to be creative. And so, the ability to collaborate and co-create, express in the marketplace, so this whole idea of nurturing a desire to be more and to help ease the burden of blame or shame or fear of not wanting to face our shadow selves. That the shadow, I remember that lovely phrase that says, "Don't be afraid of the shadow. It just means there's a light nearby." Yeah.
Yeah, it is this just trying it. And I think you're right. It's much easier to do all of this, to look at ourselves if we feel nurtured, and if we feel embraced and safe. So all of being in community creates a safeness, and where we can really understand and look at each other and say, oh my God, they're so similar. And, just to also find a similarity in many of us. Yeah. And this is
where dialogue comes in. Dr. David Bohm talks about dialogue. And it's been a passion of mine to get that rolling on a larger scale.
Yeah, so many of us have
dialogue right now. You and I are in dialogue right now.
Right, and I was not like you. I was not in spelling bee or something. I was more a silent girl. Yeah, and I learned later in my 20s to find my voice again. I had it when I was young, and then I enclosed. I tightened up. Even my body tightened up, become very tight. And then slowly I opened up that I had to travel to the US and live there. Oh God, for almost 20 years. Yeah. But there was this newness or something in the ground and in the area that enabled me, and the invitation to open up there was more the agents, but also the way of people spoke. And when I took my son now this summer, he said, oh mama, people speak with each other. Yeah, so it's art in Germany through all the warfare for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in our region, right? People have been very afraid. And you were speaking about men, even men. I remember I had a workshop and suddenly there were only men. And all of them, I remember I sang into their backs, and so they could open their chests, because they were even in a way trained not to show their fullness, their chest, their broadness, to stand erect, to show their bigness, their humongousness, yeah, by even us women, yeah, and society. So even we cannot handle with all these strong men that know what they want to do, and that they want to create their own life and think of own options, and they know that they are what their way is, and they don't have to be infiltrated and everything that they do think about squeezed down. Yeah, so I'm happy you're moving into that, because it's very needed in my aspect. That's what I believe.
I have a poetic expression that wants to go somewhere. The title is Men Who Run with Wild Hearts and Arms Wide Open.
Yeah, yeah. All of us. It's this wideness, this openness. And for us women too. Now this is of all, I'd speak then about the breasts. Because even we all crumble forward. we don't show our breasts. It's such an important part for us, and even there, so not just men. So I think men and women, all are, we're pulling inward.
The other title, Women Who Run with the Wolves. Right there. You remember that title, Women Who
Yes, yes, I read a little bit in that book, yeah.
So I kind of spun that off for men. So
Good.
Men who run with wild heart, yeah.
Good, but because if the men go, and I think that's going to be exactly this interplay we have right now. So, you know, if the men open, the women open, the men open, the women, and then it's all easier for all of us to open. I love the way it's going, yes. I believe in that. I'm
Beautiful, Meilin.
very open to. So thank you for all your inspiration, for moving us forward, to showing us a different way to use words, to really implement our vision, right? The visions we carry into the world, to act on those words, to create even new words that support, empower, enable us to create this vision we see, and to invite others in community, right? Because together it's easier. And this is a beautiful life. And then we'll remember through that very simply what we are. We'll start recognizing ourselves. So thank you very much for that. Where can people read more about what you write?
Can you repeat the question?
I said, where can people read about your work that you write?
I have a Facebook page, and I will send that to you. I just made it. I think it's called I'll send it to you. It hasn't. I just made it. I can't remember the words right now.
That's okay. No worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll provide that for you.
And then maybe I'll also let everyone know also in the text later you can get the titles again from the poems, because your poems are very beautiful, and maybe we can create a list. So yeah, thank you. And I think there's a tone coming at the moment that doesn't want us to stop before there's a tone for us to empower us, to move us forward, to have more ease, to facilitate finding the expressions of vocabulary. Also to look at the roots of vocabulary we're using now, and if they are the correct ones for us to use or not. Everyone who's listening, are they real? Look at the old meanings. Are they fit for the things you want to create? And if not, just leave them out. They do carry strength, these words. They and put some together that suit you. So here's the tones.
rich, rich, rich. What was that?
It came, the two things, it was, in a way, it was the connectiveness, the two beings that came through, the feminine, masculine, what we spoke about. And for a moment, it was about loosening the tongue.
Okay.
Really loosening the tongue. Be able to shape the words, to use our lips. Many cultures, and then it comes to mind, many cultures don't even use their lips anymore as they once did. So it is really to form tones, to be able to express tones in pronunciation, in pulling and in drawing out for all of us.
You know, I just feel a teacher energy coming out from you. It's a beautiful creatrix teacher, just a celebration of joyful education, you know, expanding our capacities, you know, inviting our capacities to come out and play. So thank you, Meilin, for playing with me today.
Thank you for taking the time and getting up so early to be on the Sacred Expression show with me.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, I think that is a wonderful idea. Thank you.
Take care now.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.